Bonjour and welcome to Le Podcast de Philippe. We're diving deep into AI today, but not just any AI. We're going global,
Global AI, that's right.
looking at how different countries are kind of tackling this whole AI thing, in terms of investments and the companies that are really leading the church.
Yeah, and even how the public is, adopting AI and what they think about it all.
Exactly. We've got some really interesting sources that paint this really fascinating picture of just how different the AI landscape is depending on where you are in the world.
Absolutely. I mean, just to kick things off, did you know that China is projected to invest like a massive $38.1 billion in AI by 2027?
Whoa, 38 billion. That's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Is anyone even close to that level of investment?
It's a huge number, right? I mean, it really
Yeah.
shows their commitment to becoming a global leader in AI. What about the U.S.?
Yeah, the U.S., they've got, all the big tech companies and all the innovation, but do they have a central number like that for AI investment?
Not really. You see, the U.S. doesn't have a specific figure tied to government AI spending. But you got to look at their private sector. It's booming with companies like Google and Microsoft and tons of startups all pouring resources into AI.
So it's almost like a tale of two approaches,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, you could say that.
China with this top-down government-led strategy, and then the U.S. with this bottom-up, like a company-driven approach.
Exactly. And it's not just a two-horse race either.
Oh, right. I bet there are tons of other countries trying to get in on the AI action.
Absolutely. You've got places like Singapore.
Singapore.
They launched their National AI Strategy 2.0, aiming to be a global hub for AI innovation.
Wow. So everyone wants a piece of the AI pie.
It seems that way. The UK is also investing heavily, over $1.3 billion, actually, and they're focusing on developing ethical AI, trustworthy AI.
Ethical AI, that's interesting. With all this power comes a lot of responsibility, right?
Definitely. And, every country's got their own focus. India, Germany, France, they're all making big investments and carving out their own niche in this AI landscape.
It's like a global race to see who can, harness the power of AI the best.
You could say that, but it makes you wonder, what about the people? Right? Like, how are they reacting to this AI revolution happening all around them?
Right. It's one thing for governments and companies to be all gung-ho about AI, but what do everyday people think?
Well, that's where it gets really interesting.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
You see, public perception of AI really varies around the world. Like in China, AI is already a big part of daily life.
Like, how so?
Think facial recognition for payments, personalized shopping experiences, even AI-powered transportation.
Oh, wow. So it's already really integrated into their society.
It is. And then you contrast that with the U.S., where AI is maybe a bit more subtle.
More subtle, how so?
Well, we see it in things like voice assistants.
Like Siri or Alexa.
Right, and those personalized recommendations you get on Netflix or, targeted advertising, it's there, but not as in your face as it is in China.
It's crazy how different it is, right?
Yeah.
Like two totally different experiences, even though it's the same technology.
It really is, and it makes you wonder, is one approach better than the other? Or will we see some kind of hybrid emerge as AI keeps evolving?
That's a good question. And it's not just China and the U.S. either.
Oh, no, not at all. Other regions have their own trends, too. Like South Korea, they're using AI a lot in public services.
Public services.
Yeah, things like streamlining processes,
Right.
Making things more efficient.
Okay, interesting.
Then you've got Japan leading the charge in robotics, which isn't surprising.
Yeah, makes sense.
And India, they're seeing a surge in AI-powered financial services and agricultural applications.
Wow, so every corner of the world is finding its own way to use AI.
It seems that way.
Wow.
And it just goes to show the incredible potential that AI has to tackle all sorts of challenges.
And let's not forget about all the companies driving these AI innovations. The U.S. has some heavy hitters in the game.
Absolutely. Companies like Google, Microsoft, OpenAI, Apple, Amazon, they're all pouring money into AI research and development.
Those are the big names we all know, right?
Yeah.
But China's catching up quickly too, I hear.
Yeah, they are. Companies like Tencent, Huawei, and Baidu, they're developing some cutting-edge AI models that are starting to rival those coming out of the U.S.
So it really is a global competition then.
It is. It's not just a two-horse race anymore.
Yeah.
There are so many players on the field now, all vying for that top spot in the AI world.
It's exciting to see. And it makes me wonder, are there any other companies or countries maybe under the radar that we should be keeping an eye on?
Definitely. Aside from those big giants, we're seeing some really exciting things happening in Europe.
Europe? Like where?
Well, France, for example, has Mistral AI and Hugging Face.
Okay, I've heard of Hugging Face.
Yeah, they've become a central hub for people to share and collaborate on AI models.
That's cool. So they're taking more of an open source approach?
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah.
And Mistral AI, they're focusing on large language models and trying to make them more accessible.
Interesting.
Then there's the UK's DeepMind.
DeepMind, yeah, they're required by Google, right?
They were, but they're still a powerhouse in AI research, especially known for things like game-playing AI and protein folding.
Protein folding, that's fascinating.
It is. And don't forget about Israel. They're really carving out a space for themselves in cybersecurity and military applications of AI.
So every country is bringing its own strengths to the table.
Exactly. It's a truly global effort with everyone trying to capitalize on AI's potential.
It's both exciting and maybe a little daunting to think about where all this is heading.
It is. AI is definitely here to stay.
No doubt.
Oh.
And it's going to reshape industries, economies, and societies worldwide.
For sure, AI's impact is going to be profound. It's going to touch every part of our lives.
It's a lot to process, and I'm sure our listeners are thinking, okay, what does this mean for me?
That's a great question.
How do we prepare for this AI-driven future?
Well, I think the key is to stay informed, stay curious, and be adaptable. You know, the skills that will be most valuable in an AI-powered world are the ones that machines can't replicate.
Like what?
Things like creativity, critical thinking, problem solving, emotional intelligence.
So it's not about competing with AI, it's about learning to work with it.
Exactly. AI is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or bad. It's up to us as a society to guide its development and make sure it's used to create a better future for everyone.
That's a powerful thought. And it leads me to a question for our listeners. Considering everything we've talked about, which country do you think is best positioned to lead the AI revolution in the next decade?
We'd love to hear your thoughts. Share your insights in the comments on our YouTube channel.
And don't forget to subscribe to Le Podcast de Philippe for more deep dives like this one. We'll be back in a moment to continue our exploration of AI around the world. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Podcast de Philippe. Before the break, we were discussing how every country is bringing its own strengths and approaches to AI. It really makes you think about how this technology will be used in the years to come.
It really does, like we were talking about how in China, AI is woven into daily life sometimes in ways that might seem surprising to people in other parts of the world.
Yeah, the level of AI integration in China is pretty striking. Their government has been very proactive in promoting AI adoption, and their citizens seem quite comfortable using it for everyday things. Imagine using facial recognition to pay for groceries or hail a ride-sharing service. That's already reality in many Chinese cities.
It's fascinating how different the experience is, even for something as basic as shopping. Here, we're more likely to see AI in things like personalized recommendations online or those targeted ads that pop up on social media.
It's true. The U.S. has this more decentralized approach to AI, often led by private companies. We see a lot of AI applications geared toward convenience and personalization, but there are also growing concerns about data privacy and the potential for AI to worsen existing inequalities.
Yeah, it seems like every advancement comes with its own set of challenges. Even if AI makes things easier, it raises questions about how our data is being used and who ultimately controls the technology.
Absolutely. And these are important questions to consider. It's not just about the technology itself, but how it's implemented and what impact it has on individuals and society as a whole.
So while AI offers all this incredible potential, we need to approach it with a critical eye, too.
Exactly. It's important to be aware of both the benefits and the risks. As AI continues to evolve, we need to be having open and honest conversations about its implications and how to use it responsibly.
We've talked a lot about China and the US, but I'm curious about what's happening in other parts of the world. Are there other countries or regions that are adopting AI in unique or interesting ways?
Oh, there are definitely fascinating developments happening all over the globe. South Korea, for example, has been very proactive in using AI for public services.
Public services?
Yeah, things like having AI-powered virtual assistants to help citizens navigate government websites and services. They're also using AI to optimize traffic flow and improve energy efficiency.
So they're really focused on using AI to make life better for their citizens. It's interesting how different countries are focusing on different applications.
It is, and that's where cultural and societal contexts really come into play. Each country has its own set of priorities and concerns. Some may be focused on economic growth, while others prioritize social welfare or national security. All of these factors influence how AI is being developed and used.
It sounds like a really complex interplay of factors: technology, culture, politics. It's a lot to wrap your head around.
It is. It's a very dynamic landscape, and we're only just beginning to understand AI's full potential and impact.
It's exciting and a bit daunting to think about where all this is heading.
Yeah.
What do you see as the biggest challenges and opportunities as we move forward with AI?
One of the biggest challenges, in my opinion, is making sure AI benefits everyone and not just a select few. We need to address concerns about job displacement and ensure that the benefits of AI are distributed fairly across society.
It's a crucial point. We don't want to create a future where only a small elite benefit from AI while others are left behind.
Exactly. And another major challenge is ensuring AI is developed and used ethically. We need to be vigilant about bias in algorithms, protect privacy, and make sure that AI systems are transparent and accountable.
So as we move forward, it's not just about technological progress. It's also about making sure that AI development aligns with our values and priorities as a society.
Precisely, AI is a powerful tool, and it's up to us to ensure that it's used for good.
That's a powerful thought to leave our listeners with. As we wrap up this part of our deep dive, we encourage you to think about these challenges and opportunities and what role you want AI to play in your life and in the world.
Welcome back to the podcast of Philip. We've been on quite a journey exploring AI, and it feels like we've only scratched the surface.
It's true, AI is constantly evolving and it's hard to predict exactly where it will go next.
Absolutely. But one thing's for sure, there's no one right way to approach it. Each country has its own perspective and priorities when it comes to AI.
You're right, it's not just about having the most advanced tech, but how that tech is being used and what values it reflects. Exactly. Like take the UAE. They've really invested in developing their own advanced language model called Falcon.
Falcon, yeah. And they've made it publicly available, which is a pretty different approach than some of the big tech companies in the US.
It's like they're saying, hey, we want to be creators and contributors in the AI world, not just consumers.
It's a bold move for sure, and it'll be interesting to see how it impacts the global AI landscape.
I think it raises some really important questions about, who controls AI as it becomes more powerful.
It does. If AI is going to be this transformative force, who gets to decide how it's used and whose values does it ultimately reflect?
Big questions indeed.
They are, and there are no easy answers. But I think it's crucial to have these conversations to consider different viewpoints and work together to make sure AI benefits all of humanity.
It's a lot of responsibility, but it also feels like a huge opportunity. AI could help us solve some of the world's biggest problems, like climate change or disease.
Absolutely. We need to be cautious and aware of the risks, but we should also be optimistic about its potential.
Caution and optimism. I
Yeah.
like that. It feels like the right mindset as we navigate this new world of AI.
It does.
As we wrap up our deep dive, I want to thank all our listeners for joining us today. It's been a fascinating exploration of AI around the world.
We've only just scratched the surface, but hopefully this has sparked some curiosity and maybe even some inspiration.
Definitely. And if you want to continue this exploration with us, be sure to subscribe to Le Podcast de Philippe on YouTube.
We'll have more deep dives into fascinating topics coming soon, so stay tuned.
Until then, stay curious.